What would you risk to be free? Philadelphia, May 21st, 1796. The President of the United States sits down to dinner with his wife. Servants move through the house, candles are lit, wine is poured, and somewhere in the back of that house, a 22-year-old woman makes a decision that will defy the most powerful man in America. Her name is Ona Judge. She is enslaved. She belongs, legally, to the Washingtons. But tonight, while they eat, she walks out the door. She does not look back. Ona Judge was born around 1774 at Mount Vernon, George Washington's sprawling Virginia plantation. Her mother, Betty, was enslaved. Her father, Andrew Judge, was a white indentured servant from England. She was born into a world where her life was not her own, where her body was property, where the man who owned her would one day sign a document declaring that all men are created equal and mean it for everyone except people who looked like her. At 12 years old, Ona was brought into the main house. She trained as Martha Washington's personal maid, a seamstress so skilled she was called a perfect mistress of her needle. She dressed Martha. She traveled with the family. She was, by every account, trusted. But trusted is not the same as free. In 1789, when George Washington became the first president, Ona was taken to New York, then to Philadelphia, the new capital. She lived in the president's house on High Street, a grand brick mansion where the Washingtons entertained diplomats, politicians, and foreign dignitaries. And Ona served them all, invisible in plain sight. But Philadelphia changed something in her. The city had a free black community, one of the largest in the country. Ona could see it from the windows of the president's house. Black men and women who worked for wages, who chose where to live, who could read. She began to imagine a different life. Then came the news that broke her. Martha Washington decided to give Ona away, a gift for her granddaughter, Eliza Custis, who was known for her harsh temper. Ona would no longer serve the aging First Lady. She would become the property of a young woman she had every reason to fear. Ona made her choice. She did not beg. She did not plead. She planned. She quietly moved her belongings out of the house, piece by piece, to friends in Philadelphia's free black community. She waited for the right night. May 21st, 1796, a Saturday. The Washingtons sat down to dinner. Ona walked out. She made her way to the Philadelphia waterfront and boarded a ship called the Nancy, bound for Portsmouth, New Hampshire. She had no guarantee of safety, no legal protection. Under the Fugitive Slave Law of 1793, she could be seized and returned at any time, anywhere in the country. She went anyway. 2 days later, an advertisement appeared in the Pennsylvania Gazette. Absconded from the household of the President of the United States, Oney Judge, a light mulatto girl, much freckled, with very black eyes and bushy black hair, $10. That was the reward. $10 for the return of a human being who had served the most powerful family in the nation for her entire life. George Washington did not accept her leaving. Understand what this means. The President of the United States, the commander who won the Revolution, the man the nation called father, turned the machinery of the federal government toward recapturing one woman. He did not go through the courts. That would have been public, embarrassing. Instead, he wrote to Joseph Whipple, the customs collector in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, a federal official. Washington asked Whipple to seize Ona quietly and put her on a ship back to Virginia. Whipple found Ona. He spoke with her. She did not crumble. She did not beg for mercy. She told him plainly she wanted to be free. She would return to the Washingtons, but only if they would guarantee her freedom after their deaths. Washington refused the deal. He would accept nothing less than total submission. He wrote that it would be a dangerous precedent to negotiate with a runaway. A dangerous precedent. Freedom to him was a precedent to be managed. But Ona stayed in Portsmouth. Whipple, to his credit, could not bring himself to kidnap her by force. 3 years passed. Washington tried again. In 1799, he sent his nephew, Burwell Bassett, Jr., to Portsmouth with orders to bring Ona back, by persuasion or by force. But Ona had an ally. Senator John Langdon of New Hampshire caught wind of the plan and warned her. She grabbed her infant daughter and fled into the night. By the time Bassett arrived, she was gone. Washington never got her back. He died that December. 50 years after her escape, Ona Judge spoke. In 1845 and 1846, 2 abolitionist newspapers in New Hampshire tracked her down. She was in her 70s now, living in Greenland, a small town outside Portsmouth. Poor, but free. And she told her story in her own words. Whilst they were packing up to go to Virginia, I was packing to go. I didn't know where, for I knew that if I went back to Virginia, I should never get my liberty. She said the Washingtons never taught her to read or write. She said they treated her more like a child than a servant, but that kindness was not freedom. A reporter asked her, after everything, the poverty, the years of hard labor, the constant fear of being recaptured, was she sorry she left? No. I am free and have, I trust, been made a child of God by the means. Ona married a free black sailor named Jack Staines around 1797. They had 3 children, Eliza, Nancy, and William. Her life was not easy. She was poor, she could not read. She remained, under federal law, a fugitive for the rest of her life. Any slave catcher could have seized her at any moment, but she raised her children free. She joined a church. She built a life on her own terms. She never returned to Mount Vernon. She never saw her mother again. Ona Judge Staines died on February 25, 1848, in Greenland, New Hampshire. She was 73 years old. She died free. Here's what the history books don't always tell you. George Washington enslaved over 300 people. He signed the Fugitive Slave Act into law. He personally rotated his enslaved workers out of Pennsylvania every 6 months, deliberately, quietly, so they wouldn't be freed under the state's abolition law. The man who could not tell a lie built an entire system on one. Ona Judge saw through it. She saw through the grand house and the fine dinners and the talk of liberty and equality. She understood, long before the country would, that freedom given at someone else's convenience is not freedom at all. She chose herself. She chose the unknown. She chose poverty and danger and a life where she could look at her children and say, "You belong to no one." Today, if you visit the President's House site in Philadelphia, you'll find her name carved into a memorial wall. 9 names. 9 enslaved people who lived in the house of the President. Ona Judge is one of them. And on the ground, pressed into the concrete, there are footsteps, walking away. If you want to go deeper into Ona Judge's story, read Never Caught by Erica Armstrong Dunbar. It's the definitive account of her life and escape, the book that brought her story back into the light. And if this is your first time here, this is Voices of Black History. Every week, we tell the stories that the textbooks left out, the ones that deserve to be heard. Subscribe, share this video, and come back next week because there are so many more stories to tell.